Pleased to be joined now by Utah football head coach Kyle Whittingham. Coach, first of all, it's a pleasure to have you on. Pac-12 champions, it's got to feel good. Just before we dive back into last year and, of course, going into 2022 and what's ahead for your program, got to look back, spring practice. How did that go for you guys this year, knowing that you have all these expectations now after winning a Pac-12 title? And now it seems like there's a target on your back a little bit.
Yeah, I guess so. You could say that, and rightfully so. I mean, if you win the conference, then obviously everyone's gunning for you. But I felt our guys handled it very good in spring football, very well. They seemed very grounded. No lack of work ethic, no drop off in their concentration and focus. So all indications during spring was that we're handling it the right way. And we as a coaching staff have preached to these guys that it's harder to stay on top than it is to get to the top. And so we've got a challenge right now to try to maintain, and our guys seem to be receptive to that, and looking forward to getting the season underway in not too long a time frame.
What's been the message to your guys, knowing that, again, it's better to it almost like you guys thrived in that underdog role, but now that you guys have that title, you finally went over the mountaintop. What's been the message to those guys throughout the spring?
Well, just don't forget what got you there. Maintain that same work ethic, maintain, just your dedication, your commitment, your accountability to the program, all the things that are in place in our culture that were enabled us to get to where we're at. Just keep doing that. You can't think you've arrived just because you had a little bit of success, and everyone in the conference is a moving target. Everyone's getting better, and so you got to get better right along with them.
So one of the guys I wanted to ask about was quarterback Cam Rising. Now, he basically had his coming out party in that Rose Bowl, put him on the national stage. Of course, it made him a national star. What's been his progression from 2021 into 2022, knowing that he had the success that you wanted him to have? He got you guys to the top of the conference, but it seems like there's a little bit more he can do, at least from a team perspective. What are your thoughts on him?
Well, he's if spring is any indication, he has got the exact right mindset. In fact, even prior to spring, he's in the film room virtually every day, watching film, figuring out ways where he can get better. And he's a guy that's very driven. Great leader for us. He is the leader of the leaders, I guess you could say, and really a guy that we count on to be the one that sets the standard and sets the bar. And then once he sets it, he demands that everyone live up to that. It's not like he's non-vocal. He is very vocal, and the players really rally around him.
Now, when you mention he's vocal, and that's usually a good thing for a guy who has the success he's had on the field, and of course the fact that he's established himself as a leader. So how do you see those guys gravitating towards him? I mean, obviously he is the quarterback, so naturally he can become a leader, but what have you noticed from these guys and his teammates gravitating towards him as he's developed now, even off the field? As you mentioned, he's always in the film room. So what have you seen over the past couple of months?
Yeah, well, he's got the respect of every single person in this program, let alone his teammates. I mean, everyone in the building, just through his work ethic, how he conducts his business. And he's an alpha dog in every sense of the word. He has that it factor that you look for in a quarterback, that something you can't teach. But he's got it. He's got that ability to make everybody around him better, which is really, in our estimation, the mark of a truly great player.
Now, before we dive into the 2022 season, what's coming up, but we'll get more into this as well, but I wanted to ask you about the Pac-12 itself now. Again, Lincoln Riley, USC, UCLA's on the right. It seems like everybody is now coming upward. There's an upward trajectory to everybody in the Pac-12 right now. And it comes on the heels of you guys breaking the mold, so to speak, where it wasn't Oregon. Oregon's going for their third straight Pac-12 title last year. You guys beat them twice last year. Do you guys still feel underrated, even though you're the defending Pac-12 champions? Oregon resets. USC is basically a shiny new toy. We've seen what UCLA does. I mean, what's the mentality there now?
Yeah, well, I don't know if we feel disrespected because, we've seen hopefully our players haven't paid much attention to it, but there's some lofty expectations out there in the media and some of these polls that have come out. And so, I don't think that we're in that mindset where we feel slighted at all. We just know that as you mentioned, everyone in this league seems to be getting better. There's some really good coaches in this league, and there's some programs that have very strong brands and national recognition, Oregon and USC that you mentioned. And so we still have, I guess you could say, somewhat of that underdog feel to us. But like I said earlier, we're the champs, and so everyone's gunning for us.
I love that mentality. Now, speaking of Pac-12 and these divisions, the rule was recently passed now where there's no more divisions. So it's the top two teams in the league. Do you prefer that now? It seems like more and more people, whether they're coaches, players, administrators, it seems like they're getting on board with the idea of, divisions were nice for a while, but now that we can just make it one whole conference, make it the top two teams that play for our conference title. Are you on board with this idea?
Yeah, I don't want to say reluctantly on board, but if I had my druthers, I'd rather be in divisions, but only if, it's all about the CFP. It's all about making it to the CFP. And this obviously gives you a little greater opportunity to do that. It may not, how much greater, who knows, but you're going to get the two best teams in the championship game. But, if there was an automatic qualifying bid for everyone that won their conference, then I think we wouldn't even consider changing from the divisional format to just one big conference. But now, you look at it, it is a little more difficult to reach the championship game because you don't have to be one of the best 6 teams in your conference or in your division. You have to be, 2 of the best 10 teams. And so that's a little more difficult. But when you look at the rationale as to why we went to that and what what we're trying to accomplish, it makes perfect sense.
Take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get more on your thoughts, of course, on the Pac-12. Don't go away. So, Coach, we've mentioned it a couple times now about what makes you guys, still you don't feel disrespected, but you still have that underdog mentality. And I mentioned before how Oregon hired Dan Lanning, USC hired Lincoln Riley. We've seen what Chip Kelly's done at UCLA. So there's a bunch of teams that are on the rise in that upward trajectory, as we mentioned just a few minutes ago. But what brings you guys back to the table, into the forefront of the Pac-12 in 2022? What makes the Utah Utes the team to beat in 2022?
Well, I'd say it starts off with a bunch of really good returning players. We took some hits, obviously, as everyone did with graduation. Devin Lloyd, first-round draft choice, tremendous player. Britt Covey, the all-time leading punt returner in the school history, and a terrific receiver. So we did lose our fair share of talented guys, but we got a lot coming back, and it all starts with a first-team all-conference quarterback, and that's a great starting point and a great nucleus to build from. And you talk about the other things we have going for us. The running back position seems to be, doesn't seem to be, it is very well stocked, and that room is absolutely solid. The tight end position, maybe as good as there is in the country, with Dalton Kincaid and Brant Keithy. Those two guys are spectacular. Offensive line, lost a couple starters, but we got so many good young players in the program, and that'll be a key offensively, is how quickly those guys are able to develop through summer and through fall camp. Defensively, we got all the pieces in place except for the 2 inside linebackers. We got the secondary coming back virtually intact. The defensive line, we lost Mika Fu, our defensive end, but otherwise the front and the back end is very experienced and very talented. It'll just depend on how those inside linebackers can develop and become, as productive as Devin Lloyd and Nephi Sewell were. Even though Devin was the first-round draft choice, Nephi Sewell was right on his heels as far as productivity, and so we lost a bunch of production at the linebacker position. And how quickly those guys can pick up the slack and step in and fill those shoes, that will determine how good we are on defense.
So certainly that seems to be the biggest question mark on defense. But if there are one, maybe 2 guys that maybe people aren't paying attention to on your football team, these under the radar guys, and we talked about before, quarterback Cam Rising, everyone knows who he is at this point. If there's 1 or 2 guys on your team that are under the radar, no one's really talking about, maybe not getting respected or the love they should, who are those guys?
I would say offensively, it's Devon Bailey, our wide receiver, who's terrific and a big-time talent. He's just been nagged by injuries, nothing major, but just things that have kept him off the field. He was able to get through spring ball completely unscathed and had a tremendous spring. He's 6'5", or 6'4.5", 210 pounds, runs a sub-4.5 40. Basketball background, so he goes up and gets that contested ball up the field. And so he's a guy that has a huge upside that I think a lot of guys in the conference really probably don't know much about him. Defensively, I don't know if you'd say under the radar, but our 2 freshmen that played so well for us, Junior Tafuna and Cole Bishop, Junior Tafuna, our defensive tackle. And I guess the league recognized him because he was the freshman defensive player of the year. But he's got a ton of improvement that he can make, and his ceiling is way up there. And then Cole Bishop, true freshman that came in and played so well at safety for us, 6'2", about 210 pounds, and just an absolute phenom at that safety position.
So, Coach, one more for you. You're 144-70 as a head coach. Finally get that Pac-12 title. You've been at Utah for quite a while now. I mean, you are Utah football, it seems like. But you mentioned the college football playoff before, and I find that very fascinating considering the Pac-12 has been not shut out of the Final Four, but it's been a struggle for them in terms of, compared to the SEC, the Big Ten, obviously some of the Big 12 teams as well. What do you guys have to do to get to that college football playoff? What does the Pac-12 have to do? I mean, is this the year where, again, we mentioned all these new pieces, and there's a new flair to the conference. How can the Pac-12, particularly you guys, finally get over that hill, get over that mountaintop that is the college football playoff, get there, and possibly win a national championship? It seems like you guys are on that short list of the teams that actually have a chance to win it all here in 2022.
Well, in a word, win. I mean, that's what you got to do. And I believe our conference is more balanced than any conference in the country. From top to bottom, as you mentioned, we got so many programs that are on the rise, and we have a tendency to cannibalize each other. And that somehow that can't happen. There's got to be that team that goes unscathed, or maybe one loss at the most. And the last several years, we haven't been able to do that. We've had the majority of our champions have had a couple losses, 2 or 3. And so really you've got to have a record that is nearly perfect. And it's been hard to do in the Pac-12 because, like I said, there's so many good teams, and there are no weeks off. In the Pac-12, it's a challenge every single week, and so we just have to have that breakout team that has one of those years that is special, and that like I said, 11-1 probably would do it, but it may not. 12-0 would definitely do it, but 11-1 certainly is probably the minimal that we have to achieve.
He is head coach Kyle Whittingham of the Utah Utes. Coach, I really appreciate the time. As always, good luck this season. I look forward to watching you guys defend that Pac-12 title here in 2022.
Okay, Nick, appreciate you having me on. Thank you.